The Americans would like, of course, to base this on nuclear issues, but also they want to reduce the threat to their ally Israel, and they don't like the Iranian proxies operating around the world. So Marco Rubio has said that that is key as well. So there's an awful lot for them to deal with, and none of it is easy.
We're joined by the US reporter Harriet Alexander. Hello, Harriet.
Hi, Kate.
Let's talk foreign policy first of all. Talks between the US and Iran in Geneva today appear, well, at least on the face of it, to have made some progress. There wasn't a falling out at the end. Iranian officials announced the two sides had reached an understanding on the guiding principles of their dispute over Tehran's nuclear program. Donald Trump had warned Iran that a failure to reach a deal could result in strikes, and despite the warm words, US military hardware continues to be deployed in key areas in the region. Iran then believes an abandonment of their nuclear enrichment is a complete red line. So that is what they won't do, but they will dilute it. Donald Trump insists it's a prerequisite to a deal. Can a deal realistically be done? What is the general consensus over there, Harriet?
Yeah, I mean, the Iranians left the meeting in Geneva saying that they have made progress, but there is, quote, still a lot of detail to discuss. And I think that's quite some understatement. There is an awful lot to discuss. They're talking about how they have sort of the scope of a framework, but that's fairly easy. It's actually the details that really matter. I think what's fresh in everyone's mind is the fact that Donald Trump has sent a second aircraft carrier group to the region. This is the Gerald Ford, which he's moving from the Caribbean over to that area. So it means that they're in the last 24 hours, Kate, they've had 50 US fighter jets moving into that area. That's sort of the carrot and the stick, really, isn't it? That's basically what it boils down to. So I think the Iranians have very much got that, top of mind.
Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei responded to the presence of US warships off the coast of Oman, across the Gulf from Iran, of course, saying warships were dangerous, but more dangerous than a warship is a weapon that can send it to the bottom of the sea. Fighting talk there.
Yes, quite. And I mean, he is always the one who, of course, is the most inflammatory in his language, I think it's safe to say, whereas the actual negotiators who are there in Geneva, much more nuanced, much more subtle, trying to find some way through this impasse. I mean, the Americans would like, of course, to base this on nuclear issues, but also they want to reduce the threat to their ally Israel, and they don't like the Iranian proxies operating around the world. So Marco Rubio has said that that is key as well. So there's an awful lot for them to deal with, and none of it is easy.
Iran produces 5% of the world's crude oil. Would the economic repercussions of war in the Middle East be a top consideration here for Donald Trump, or is he not so concerned when he's got sources of oil elsewhere, as we famously know?
Yeah, I mean, the United States produces a lot of its own oil. It has huge resources. It is also currently controlling what comes out of Venezuela, which has the world's largest oil resources, although they're not easy to access. Certainly, conflict in the Middle East is going to rocket up the oil prices. It's sort of a double-edged coin for Donald Trump, because on the one hand, he has seen that he is able to carry out military action abroad. So like the strikes on Iran back in June last year, like the move to detain Nicolas Maduro, and they're sort of fairly quick, dynamic in and out wins essentially for him in the short term. And that is a lot easier, I think, in his mind than dealing with some of the really thorny issues at home.
Okay. Let's move on to Donald Trump. He's hit back at his former presidential adversary Hillary Clinton. That's after the former Democrat nominee accused the president of slow walking the release of the Epstein files. Speaking aboard Air Force One, Trump accused Clinton of having TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. Let's take a listen.
I have nothing to hide. I've been exonerated. I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. They went in hoping that they'd find it and found just the opposite. I've been totally exonerated. In fact, Jeffrey Epstein was fighting that I don't get elected with some author, a sleazebag, by the way. I've been totally exonerated. No, they're getting pulled in, and that's their problem. I don't know, they're going to have to see what happens. But I watched her in Munich, and she seriously has Trump derangement syndrome.
Oh, there we go. So has Trump been exonerated, Harriet?
Well, not entirely. I mean, his name features thousands of times in the Epstein files, but of course that is not actually a surprise because we knew, of course, that they were close for many years. They severed relations several years ago, so the fact that his name is there doesn't mean much. I mean, to a certain degree, Trump is right in the sense that, for all that Trump's enemies are looking, there is nothing yet to suggest that Trump actually did anything wrong with Epstein. I mean, you can certainly question his judgment of friends, but they did end their friendship many years before Epstein died. So, Trump is not so far incorrect with that. He's not quite correct in saying that the Clintons, are getting more and more pulled into this because Hillary Clinton, she said, we have nothing to hide as well. She's using very similar language. She is accusing the Trump administration of a cover-up because she says they've been dragging their feet on all of this.
Her husband, Bill Clinton, of course, appears in the files. I mean, some might say that they're trying to muddy the water to sort of distance themselves from the Epstein scandal, but they have both said that they'll report to the House over this, haven't they? To Congress, isn't it? Yes,
that's right. So it's the House Oversight Committee. An awful lot of back and forth over this. They initially said they wouldn't, and then they were going to be given contempt of Congress. And then they reversed course and said, OK, we will testify before you. So that's going to happen later this month. Hillary on the 26th and Bill on the 27th. That's going to be remarkable because Bill Clinton will become the first person to testify before a congressional committee, the first ex-president since Gerald Ford. So it's quite remarkable that he's doing that.
How much are we going to hear of that, Harriet? Do we know? Does that have to happen behind closed doors because of the nature of this?
So that's been a key part of the wrangling, actually, Kate, because both Bill and Hillary would like it to be in the public, they say. But actually, it's going to be behind closed doors, although, of course, it will be recorded. So it might be made public afterwards. But Bill and Hillary say, we have nothing to hide. We don't want to be manipulated. We want the full thing out there so the American public can see.
OK. All right. Let's talk about the death of the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Trump led tributes to the civil rights activist campaigner who died at 84 today. In a Truth Social post, the US president appears to imply his friendship with Jackson proved accusations by Democrats of him being racist were false. He goes on to claim that Jackson didn't like his predecessor, Barack Obama, writing, he had much to do with the election without acknowledgement or credit of Barack Hussein Obama, a man who Jesse could not stand. Can we fact check that? There was, when I was reading about this earlier, I have to probably fetch it over from my notes, but there was an accusation that in 2008, Jesse Jackson had complained that Obama was talking down to black people in comments captured by a microphone. But when he joined the jubilant crowd in Chicago to greet the new president on election night, he did have tears streaming down his face. Is that what Trump's referring to?
Yes, I think it is. I mean, as so often is the case with Trump, Kate, that there's a grain of truth in there, right? Which is that Jesse Jackson, who obviously ran for president himself and didn't get there, he was quite disparaging about Barack Obama shortly before that 2008 election, said that Obama was condescending. But then when Obama was elected, that the tears, I think, were very real. I mean, Jesse Jackson was asked about that afterwards and said it was such an incredible moment to watch Obama be the first black man elected president. He said he was thinking that he wished Martin Luther King Jr. was by his side to watch it happen. So I don't think it's fair to say that, that Jesse Jackson hated Obama. I mean, certainly Jesse Jackson's son was a member of the Obama campaign, worked a lot with him. And I think, the Obamas, they had an awful lot of respect for him. And actually, this afternoon, the Obamas issued their own statement and they said, we stand on Jesse Jackson's shoulders. So very much giving him credit for his work.
How much do we know about the friendship or the relationship between Donald Trump and Jesse Jackson?
Well, Trump was crowing about it this morning, wasn't he? 8:30 this morning, local time, he puts out this message talking about how, despite the fact that he was falsely and consistently called a racist by scoundrels and lunatics on the radical left, his friendship with Jesse Jackson proved that he was not. And he says that he rented office space to Jesse Jackson at a building that Trump owned here in New York City. And he says that they worked together on several initiatives. And actually, Trump's Truth Social feed today is just full of photos of him with Jesse Jackson from several years ago. So he's really seizing on this. And yeah, absolutely, they knew each other fairly well. And they worked together. Trump, of course, using every opportunity he has to attack Obama. I don't think that's entirely fair to say that, that Jesse Jackson could not stand Obama. But I think it is fairly fair to say that Trump and Jackson did at times have a reasonable relationship.
Harriet, thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate it. US reporter Harriet Alexander there. Thank you with our daily dose of the Trump dump.